This is Axel 72 in association with Squared Circle Boxing. Pleasure to be joined by Dev Sahni today. Dev, first of all, mate, how are we?
We are good. The reason I look a tad distracted is I'm watching on the scales. Tyron Zoiga actually missed his catch weight against Zach Parker, so Neil Marshall sent him away to go and make weight. He's just come back now, and he's got on the scale. So I'm curious to see what happens there. But I'm good. Look, everything's happening. There's so much going on here in Birmingham. It's a big show tomorrow night on TNT Sports, and it's a good time to be here.
I'm sure that you've probably seen and had to witness lots of different interesting weigh-in stories in your time.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? That brings up quite an amusing one, where it was Gervonta Davis against Liam Walsh, and I wasn't doing like the presenting or anything like that. At that point, I was just like filming stuff on my phone and putting it on social media for Box Nation, amongst other things. But Gervonta Davis had missed weight a couple of times, and then he'd come back the third time, and I was filming to try and get it, but he had to take his shorts off, and they thought I was trying to film something I shouldn't have been, and Leonard Ellaby was just like, "Hey, what are you doing?" and just like knocked my phone out of my hand. So yeah, I've had a few weigh-in stories, but that one really stands out. Leonard Ellaby knocking my phone out of my hand, thinking I was trying to film Gervonta Davis's parts.
I don't think this interview would go like this, but no, it's definitely an interesting story.
To ask though, yeah, it pulls something up. So, yeah.
And I suppose, with yourself in your career, you have, progressed from, like you mentioned, being somebody just filming on their phone to everything that you do now. And, what I suppose advice would you give to somebody in a similar position to you?
Say yes. The opportunities will present themselves if you put yourself in the right place. You talk to the right people, you show a willingness to learn and a willingness to have doors shut in your face and be told no. Just keep saying yes and figure it out later. Even if you're not really sure that you can do it, just say yes, because you'll have time to figure it out and you'll be in that position. You can it'll either work or it won't, but you don't know unless you try.
Of course, I appreciate that. And to speak about, the card we've got here today, and I suppose tomorrow night, it's an amazing card headlined by Nathan Heaney. And I suppose to speak about that fight first, Nathan Heaney yet again sold loads of tickets, and he's going to be an entertaining night for his fan base.
It will be. 2,000 tickets, just Nathan Heaney has done them. 450 deliveries. He's been going around hand delivering all of these tickets. I'd love to see his fuel bill, his petrol bill. But with that in mind, that's more than he's ever done, by the way. And Delilah always sounds amazing. Surely now it sounds more amazing than ever, because there's going to be more Stokies there than ever. First defence of his British title, the first time that he can come out to Delilah with the British title already there. I don't know if he'll wear it around his waist, if he'll put it on his shoulder, if he'll have someone behind him holding it up, but that's the new thing, and I think it's going to be electric in there.
And I suppose as a matchup, Brad Pauls is coming in as the away fighter. I mean, he fought Tyler Denny as the away fighter, and it was a valiant effort from him in that fight, and he's come and he's kind of gone in the small hall shows and he's rebuilt, and now he's here. And do you feel like this is a very good crossroads type fight?
Yeah, look, it's an important fight for both guys, and for Brad Pauls, he's the English champion. He's resurgent now since that loss to Tyler Denny. He's changed a few things. He's changed his nutrition. He's got a mind coach and things like that, all to help him. And we know he's been training hard. We know he had plenty of notice. He knew about this fight before Christmas. And he wants that belt. And he wants to make history for Cornwall. So we've got a very fiercely hungry challenger there, who is already the English champion. I don't know about crossroads fights, because I think they've both got places they can go win or lose, but I'd say it's a very important fight for both.
Of course, and for Joe Joyce on this card, of course, he's making his return. I spoke to him earlier and he said it was a little bit, strange for him to not be main eventing a card, but do you feel like this fight is probably the most important one for his career at the moment?
Yeah, because if he doesn't win, he won't be main eventing a card again. I'd have thought. You need to get Cash Ali out of there. Cash Ali has boxed nowhere near the level that Joe Joyce has boxed. Only 1 year ago, people were talking about Joe Joyce as maybe the second best heavyweight in the world. Certainly a top 5, top 4 heavyweight. Like, he was that guy. he ran into Zhilei Zhang, who was just all wrong for him. At least that's what we think. We think it was a terrible style matchup in the end. A guy who was bigger, a guy who was southpaw, fast hands, hit hard. But if it's not the case that it was just Zhilei Zhang's your bogeyman, if it's the case that actually he's in decline, then it's a whole different story. And we find out the answers on Saturday against Cash Ali. Cash Ali has no right to kind of do any damage to Joe Joyce, really, based on what he's done in his career so far. But people within boxing, people like Andy Lee, are talking up the threat of Cash Ali. They say it's a proper fight for Joe Joyce. It's not just a comeback fight, it's a fight he could lose.
Most definitely, and I suppose, to ask for another one of your Dev Sahni stories, have you, experienced any type of fights where you've come in and there's been such a clear favourite coming off a defeat like Joe Joyce, but then he's, mentally not been strong enough to be able to get through that?
When there's a clear favourite mentally not strong enough to get through, I don't know about that. I mean, there's been fights where there's been clear favourites who have then been upset. I think Denzel Bentley against Nathan Heaney. Denzel Bentley was a guy on the last Magnificent Seven show who went into that fight and he'd performed very well at world level. He lost to Janibek, who could be the best middleweight in the world. He lost to him on points, and there was a feeling that if he'd have just asserted himself more in the opening rounds, maybe he'd have won that fight. There was that feeling. He then got upset against Nathan Heaney. It happens, but that because that's kind of my recent memory, that's one that stands out. Zhang beating Joyce the first time, that was an upset as well. It felt like you pick Zhang because he looks good on your record to beat an Olympic silver medalist who gave Hrgovic a very hard fight. He's only lost once. It would be good to keep building up that Joe Joyce resume, but Zhang was just too much on the night. So there's always upsets there. There's probably going to be some on Saturday as well.
And when you go through the whole card, some amazing fights on the card, and the likes of Dennis McCann and Liam Davies also featuring on the card, as well as Zach Parker as well. Is that just credit to the matchmaking that's on with Queensbury?
I think so, yeah. I think you set it up well there. Look, every fight's got a story. Unbeaten records on the line, British titles on the line, world titles on the line, pride on the line, careers on the line, everything on the line, and it's all live on TNT Sports.
And for yourself, of course, I mean, you're a boxing fan, and would you rather, I suppose, one clear, amazing, main event, but then a bit of a mismatch undercard, or would you rather just loads of 50-50s?
I don't know. I mean, this feels like brilliant card with loads of good fights with lots of intrigue. So I'll take either, really.
No, fair enough. And you've been out in Saudi and you've been doing some amazing work there. And I suppose first question, what's your opinions of Saudi and the boxing scene that's being created there?
It's great. I mean, every time we go there, I mean, the shows that they're putting on are phenomenal. The promotion heading into it, you've seen the promos, and then the fight weeks, what they're doing around the weigh-ins, the press conferences, the workouts, everything's just like big. The whole kind of strapline of it is big time, and it's very much big time. I've enjoyed every moment I've been out there. I've been treated very well out there as well. People are nice, food's nice, weather's nice, and the boxing's very nice. So it's a good place to go.
And I suppose the main important thing is that fights are happening, and we've seen big fights happen, we've seen big fights being arranged. And do you feel like this is going to be a continual kind of progression where it's constantly going to be from now on Saudi making a lot of the big fights?
I mean, I hope so. They are making things happen right now. They've only done actually 3 shows so far, but they seem to have completely changed the landscape of boxing. And every time there's a show there, something big happens. One big moment or 2 big moments, which completely changes and shifts everything. So long may it continue.
And when you speak about big moments, every fighter wants big moments and it propels their career. And when you're looking at fighters coming up, do you feel like it's just very important for them to sell themselves and make themselves seem as something a little bit different?
Of course. I don't think it's enough anymore to just be a good boxer. Like, there's loads of good boxers out there, and you need something else. If you can't sell yourself, you need good people around you who can help you sell yourself, or that can sell you. It's just not necessarily enough to be, I'll just focus on my boxing, and it's a different world that we're in now. There's too much competition. There's too much. Essentially, if we just condense it all down to someone scrolling on their phone, right? You're only going to stop on interesting things that catch your eye. And there's a lot of interesting things out there. So if you want to stand out, I want someone to stop scrolling, do something, be interesting. And boxers do need to put that effort in.
Most definitely, and I appreciate your time. Like I mentioned, I won't keep you for too much longer. Did just want to speak about Dillian Whyte, who's making his return this weekend as well. It's gone a little bit under the radar to an extent, but what do you make of him? And do you feel like he's got, with everything that's happened in his career, much longer left at the top level?
I mean, that's a question for him, really. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the comeback, but I know that I like Dillian Whyte. I know that I find him very funny, and I know that Dillian Whyte at his best is a problem in the heavyweight division. So he's been inactive. Let's see what he looks like in this comeback. But he's one of the biggest names in the division, and at one point he was one of the best fighters in the division. Is he still? Let's find out.
And obviously, you don't want to compare him too much, but to compare him to what happened with the Conor Benn situation, Dillian Whyte was seemingly being told it was an accidental type thing that's gone into his system, and Ben also had the same kind of incident. And so why, I suppose of course you don't know, but what's your opinions on why Whyte can fight so quickly and Ben can't?
I don't really have an opinion on it. It's all different situations. I haven't really looked into it too much.
Of course, and I have one more final question. I'm asking everybody today, other than, I suppose the big fights, the big wins and everything like that, what else is your favourite part of boxing?
The people. It's good fun. When you come up for a fight week, there's always good camaraderie. All the teams, the fighters' teams, the managers, the coaches, the Queensbury team that we've got here. We've got some great people that work at Queensbury. I think just being around the people and having a laugh. Obviously, we work very, very hard, but when away from that, we will chill together and have a drink and have a meal. I do look forward to that.
Amazing, Dev. Appreciate your time very much. Thank you very much, man.